Oh, all right, Jamsters. How we doing? Another win for your Phoenix Suns, right back there on track. I'm sure I'm all pixelated again because I'm at home. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm back at home with my shitty Wi-Fi. You just can't have it all, can you, Matthew? Either I'm on the road and I'm in a hotel room with fantastic Wi-Fi, or I'm at home in the comforts of my own home and my Wi-Fi sucks. And for those of you watching, I'm probably all pixelated and Transformer-esque, right? Is that what you're seeing?
That's what we're seeing, but
Damn.
it'll come together hopefully. And yeah, it would be a perfect world if you would have just like a little bit of a decent Wi-Fi connection. But we'll figure ourselves out through this, right? We'll get through this together. I think, John. We'll
Well,
figure it
we
out,
all
man.
we always do, and we do it with the Jamster. So for those of you who are joining us, we truly appreciate it. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button down below. Make sure you subscribe to the Suns Jam Session podcast, whether you're watching along live or you're listening on any major podcasting platform. That's where you'll find the Suns Jam Session podcast. If you're on Spotify, hit the 5 stars on Suns Jam. If you're on Apple, leave us a 5 car or a 5 star review. Please do that. And again, if you're watching, you can utilize the super chat. You can donate to the show right here and help me get a new Wi-Fi connection. This is driving me nuts that I come home and it's like I'm living on like 1 bar of Wi-Fi. I'm connected directly into my hard drive over here, and it's still like, nope, one. You get one.
Yeah.
You know,
You pay
it's it,
$30 a month though. I mean, that's
yeah.
that's what you get, man. You're basically homeless. So I don't even
Josh 77 says his stream quality is like a Picasso.
Yeah, very artistic. We should just
Jesus.
never say anything. It's like kind of an artsy way that you can go about it, right?
Yeah, it's how I
8-bit
know.
Voida.
Yeah, 8-bit Metal Mike. Darth is 8-bit. Yeah, I'm
Yep.
living that 8-bit world right now. But I'll tell you what, the Suns aren't living in the 8-bit world, although it felt like it, considering that they only had like 9 players actually available today
Mhm.
for the game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to go ahead. Real quick, Westville, get Cox Communications, bro. That's who I have. They suck.
Yeah.
Um, and then
I got
Thermal
Cox.
Diversion Pool says I'm cheap. You know what? Maybe I am. I'm trying to keep that overhead, low, but it's a little too low. When you stream a live podcast after games, you gotta take some of that money and allocate it appropriately. But plenty to talk about on this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. Make sure you subscribe to Suns Jam on Twitter at Suns Jam. You can follow me at Darth Voida. You can follow Matthew.
Matthew Lissy.
Well, my friend, let's pop open an ice cold beer and talk about this game against the Thunder. Sound good?
Yeah, you actually got one?
Yeah, hell yeah, I'm at home,
All
homie.
right, man.
Yeah, so you got a Lagunitas IPA. I got a
Yep.
Coors Light. So crack them if you got them, Suns fans. Let's talk about this dub back to the winning ways for the Phoenix Suns. It ended up being an 18-point victory for the Phoenix Suns, although it didn't necessarily feel like that kind of throughout the game. So therefore,
Matthew, I got to ask.
Matthew, I gotta ask, are you in any way, shape, or form concerned with the recent lack of intensity and aggression from the Suns at the start of these games?
Um, kind of off and on. I think it's just such a weird season right now where I'm not really buying into being scared whether or not you're gonna lose a game against a team like the Thunder. Even if we were to lose this game, which I knew we wouldn't, um, I just if you're gonna lose this kind of game against a bad team, it kind of makes sense because these bad teams right now they're playing in a way where they're coming out with a lot of effort, right? OKC is the best example. They actually had a lot of players out of COVID too. They had a lot of
Yeah.
no-namers come in play with a lot of intensity. You really don't know what you're going to get from those guys. So, of course, you're playing the Suns. You want to play against the best team. You want to show yourself. You want Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome wants to come out and he wants to destroy the Suns for what they did to him, right? Trading him away. How dare
How
them?
dare they?
Yeah, but I mean, it's the season's just like I said, just very, very weird. So I'm not buying into the talk. I think you get through these games. You don't go on the 3-game losing streak that the Suns avoided tonight. You get through the games as best you can. You got to get the win no matter what, no matter how ugly it looks, no matter how at times you're just looking at the game, you're like, who's going to score besides Book? Who's going to help out Booker tonight? no one was really able to at times, and it looked kind of scary in that way. But just get these wins, man. I mean, we're going to talk about this a lot this year with the COVID stuff. It's just really about just going out and who can help Booker and who can help Chris Paul. And then if Ayton's in the game and the Booker's out because of COVID, who's going to help DeAndre Ayton? That's what we're going to be talking about a lot this year, I feel like.
No, I mean, you're 100% right, and it's seeing in those moments, because again, this is a marathon, not a sprint. For God, I'm looking at me on YouTube, and I look so bad, dude.
No, you're
I feel
fine. You're
bad.
clearing up a little bit. It's
No,
clearing up a little bit,
no,
man.
dude, it looks so bad, so
It's
bad.
good. Just say
I'm
you're Iraq or something, man.
I'm so sorry, Jamsters who are watching. Like, this is, I got a bunch of people in the house right now, and it's clearly, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do this. All right, this looks better. You
Okay.
know? But no, you're absolutely right that this is going to be an interesting spat of the season. Again, it is a marathon, and it is an opportunity for numerous members of the Phoenix Suns to step up and to display some affinity for why they should get those minutes and why they should potentially be, they're being shopped by other teams at this point. You
Mhm.
have members of the team like Stix who are going to get extra minutes right now, and this is an opportunity for him to showcase to the league that he ultimately does belong. So it's like, with Devin Booker having to carry this team, with Chris Paul having to carry this team, to your point, who else is going to step up? For the Oklahoma City Thunder, I feel weird doing that. For the Oklahoma City
Yes.
Thunder, it was Ty Jerome. It was the Ty Jerome revenge game. He was a point shy
Mhm.
of his career high. He ended with, or no, he hit a career high, right?
It was a season
24
high for sure
points.
that I know of.
I think 24 uh or points is his career high. He shot 9 for 22 tonight, man. 9 for 22 from Ty Jerome. And as you mentioned, this is a team that's without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, they're already a no-name team, and now they're a team that had even less names, right?
Yeah, and yeah, he did score 23 points 2 times, so this is a career high
There
for
you
him for
go.
24. I thought later in the game, Ty Jerome, if you're gonna have Ty Jerome versus Booker towards the end of the game, who's gonna win? The Suns with Devin Booker. But Ty Jerome looked excellent at times, but maybe was just doing too much later in the game because they had a lot of these guys just nailing threes and getting to the rim when they wanted to. Jerome was doing a good job facilitating and hitting his floaters, getting to the rim, being very aggressive, but at times it seemed like it was too much. Like he was trying to take over the game for the
Mhm.
Thunder. And towards the 5 minute mark, it was like, okay, are you going to give your other guys on the team a chance? They kind of like held their own against the Suns all night long. And then it just seemed like Ty Jerome, possession after possession, was just trying to get his against the Suns. And I didn't like that. I mean, of course, I liked it because the Suns won the game eventually. And like I said, if you're going to go to Ty Jerome versus Devin Booker's going to win 10 out of 10 times.
Mhm.
I just think that he kind of screwed his own team tonight in a way to where they keep the lead closer to the 5 or 6 point mark, and then all of a sudden the Suns at the 5 minute mark, they're up by 10, they're up by 12, and it just kind of goes into the abyss for the Oklahoma City Thunder where they can't come back from it. And I think I want to put it on Ty Jerome a little bit. I don't know if you saw that too. I kind of
I
thought that
without a
towards the end of the
doubt,
game.
without a doubt. Well, again, revenge game, right? Like, he's
Yeah.
obviously, as you mentioned, a little, how dare they trade me to the Thunder for Chris Paul? And obviously we're being facetious. Obviously, he is, the fact that his name will be ever linked to Chris Paul for being traded for him at one point is something he'll be telling his grandkids about. Like, let's not joke ourselves on
Mm.
that. But he definitely knew that this was a game in which he could cook. It's a game that he was going to be permitted without consequence an opportunity to try to score as many points as he wanted to. And, as I mentioned, 9 field goal makes on 22 attempts. That's the most that for anybody on his team. And to your
Yeah.
point, he really looked bad in that fourth quarter because he was forcing it. Because essentially what worked for the first 3 quarters of the game for Ty Jerome was his first move. He would fake left, go right, and for some reason, every time, everybody who was on him, whether it was Chris Paul or Mikal Bridges or Cam Johnson, they fell for it, and he was getting to the lane at will. But come the fourth quarter, the defense tightened up a little bit, and Ty Jerome went 2 for 8 in that fourth quarter. He was trying
Yeah.
to hero ball his team to a victory against his former team, and while that was occurring, on the other side of it, the Suns put together a solid quarter in that fourth, outscoring the Oklahoma City Thunder by a score of 30-16, and shooting 47.8% from the field, whereas the Thunder shot 19.2% in the fourth. That's kind of the story of the game. So when you look at that final score, that's right below me. That's not pixelated. Suns 115, Thunder 97. You're like, oh, Suns smoked them. But they really didn't smoke them, because through three quarters, it was very much a game. It was two teams that were definitely hampered by all the COVID protocols and all that's, BS that's kind of going on around the league, to where,
Mhm.
when you look back at this stretch of the season, there's nothing you can take away from any games that started pretty much the second week of December. And we'll see, it'll probably go to about the second week of January, because so many teams haven't had the capacity to put forth full rosters. So you're just in survival mode. And we saw that against the Grizzlies for the Suns. And, I don't know if you saw that, but the final play of that game by Ja Morant was ruled a travel post game. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they should get rid of that report. I mean, it is what it is, basically.
All
And
it
I hate
does
using
is,
that phrase, but it is. I mean, the game's over. So what does that even do? Well, who does that
well,
really help? I mean, it's kind of cool
it'd be
for them to
great.
own up, but
Well, yeah, it'd be great if there was some sense of accountability. There's no sense of accountability. It's not like
yeah.
somebody, oh, here, Metal Mike, what was the betting line tonight? I know this because I lost on this. The betting line was Suns minus 14.5.
Okay.
And I bet the Thunder plus 14.5. I thought they'd cover, and they ultimately they lost by 18. I was
Oh,
like, so I was
wow.
watching it to the
Yeah.
end. I was like, come on, like, hit a three there, guys. Like, help me out. But no, you're
Yeah.
right. Like, who does it benefit? Those post game reports where they talk about whether or not a ref made the correct call. It's nice to see that, I guess. But at the end of the
Mhm.
day, if you're not holding anyone accountable, what's the point of having those, huh?
Yeah, it's true. And the more I think about it, because we haven't been on the refs so much this year, where it's just they're not an annoyance as much. I mean, they go through their stretches where they have bad endings to games where they don't call the travel, or else they'll call a foul against the Suns when there's not a foul. They don't call all the bullshit we used to put up with. It's very minimal now. But I just think if you put that stress on the refs, this is weird because I'm not really taking the refs side, but the added stress of just the repercussion of like, hey, if you miss this, you're fined, or I don't know. We
Well, I
have you
mean,
come out
but
and you
there's
walk around
accountability at
with a
my job,
sign
right?
around your neck. I know, but what do you do for accountability with the refs though? Like, what would it be? Just you're suspended a game, and then we have to get another ref that sucks. I'm just saying, I don't know what kind of rule you would make or put in place, to implement, and I don't think there's anything you could do to really
Cash
just.
fines, I think, could work.
I know, but we don't want to know how much they make. Do you know how much a ref makes?
I don't, but maybe it's an undisclosed amount, or they get a write up. And if you have three of those blown calls, yeah, you get suspended a game,
Yeah,
which costs you a game, like
yeah,
something like that. But again, there has to be some accountability for not getting things correct. And I get it's a very subjective game, and it's happening very fast. But at the same time, like that cost the Suns a game. Like, we will reference that Memphis game at
yeah.
some point during the season, and if like we don't get into the first overall seed by a game, you could point directly to that game and be like, hey, Ja Morant traveled at the end of that game. The Suns, with 0.5 seconds left, the Suns should have won
Mhm.
that game.
Did you think
So
that was a travel though? I know
I no,
beforehand there were some travels, but that one
yes
I
and
didn't think
no,
there was a
yes and
travel
no. I think
at
that
the time.
I thought it was a travel, but they hadn't called a travel all night. So again, I'm kind of in that world that Eddie Johnson lives in. Like, I don't know what the fuck a travel is
Yeah,
anymore,
every time he
right?
mentions it, he's like, "Oh wait, never mind. I actually don't even know what it is." Because he always mentions it. He's like, "Oh wait, I did this last game too." You can just always hear it in his head
Yeah.
where he's like, "Okay, this might be a little annoying to the fans listening." So he admits he doesn't know. No one really knows.
No, they don't. They don't. Shout out to Blaze Megatron. He says, "How's the internet from the mid '90s, Voida? Suns were back then. Were in transition post Barkley. Think Manning will work out?"
Oh, dude, that's great.
Uh,
That's probably
I
like the comment of the year right
It
there.
is. Well, it's
Honestly,
just
that's what put a lot of thought into that one.
whenever I'm home, everybody who lives here is on Wi-Fi, and it kills my internet. So, anyway,
I don't want to hear
again,
it.
talking about this game, and one thing that you know, kind of putting a bow on, you will, or if you will, on the
Yeah.
referee conversation. I saw that Justin Van Dyne was one of the referees for this game. Do you remember who Justin Van Dyne is?
From Saved by the Bell, right?
No,
Or
no,
is that
not even.
Was that Justin Vanderbeek? I'm not
Vanderbeek
sure.
was something Vanderbeek, but that was Dawson's Creek.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah.
All right.
Justin Van Dyne is the guy who double teched Devin Booker in that Laker game last year. Remember,
Okay.
double teched him in like the third quarter and got him
I
out.
forgot about that. Oh my
Yeah.
god, really?
Yeah, I
Okay.
remember the name because our buddy So
Yeah.
Says Jay is, one of those guys who is just always all over the refs, and
Yes.
I'll never forget that name after that happened because he was definitely tweeting at him and
Yeah.
every member of the every NBA refereeing fraternity and letting them know every time they do everything wrong. And Justin Van Dyne was kind of at the top of his list. Yeah, Blaze
I don't know how
Johnson. It's
you remember him
Jason
talking
Vanderbeek.
about it.
I
Jason
remember
Vanderbeek,
random
okay.
shit, man. I
Yeah,
remember.
but I don't even know because he remembers every name of every ref. I think that So Says Jay has like their heads or something on his wall, just pictures of them and just X's across their faces every time they upset him. It
It's
gets to
like
that point.
Ace Ventura. It's wow, what's the kicker's name in Ace Ventura? You suck
Oh,
at these things, so
jeez.
you won't know the answer.
I suck at what things that just remembering anything.
Anything pop culture related. It's just not your forte. Uh,
Oh, it's not okay. We don't like the
let's
same kind of
see.
movies, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean Ace Ventura. Come on. What's the name? Ray Finkel.
I don't remember.
When you
Is
go to
it
Ray
Finkel?
Finkel's house and he's got all the Dan Marino shit and all the X's out, that's So Says Jay's layer, but it's all NBA refs in there.
Yeah, there you
So
go. Okay, I did forget about that.
Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel. Uh, Devin Booker tonight, 38 points on 12 of 24 shooting, including 6 for 12 from deep. And he finally hit 10,000 points as a member of the
Yeah.
Phoenix Suns in his career. He's now 8th all-time on the Phoenix Suns list, but only 5,500 and I think 56 points short of the all-time leading Suns scorer, the Greyhound, Walter Davis. Does that number have any significance to you? That 10K for Devin Booker?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of kept up the pace where he's like the seventh youngest at 10,000. So I remember like the days when he was kind of like the Ty Jerome where he was killing all game. He would just try to win it for his team and it just would not work out for him because the defense would tighten up. And that was always Booker before, always having to score, always having to do everything. And it's so nice for him to be on this team now to where he has other guys that can help him out. And for him to actually be that humble of a player and his numbers are going down points per game wise, and he still hits a 10,000 with the seventh youngest player in the history of the NBA. That it's crazy to even think about that we have that on our team, and he's still just so underrated. Even like on our podcast, we don't talk about Devin
You're
Booker
right.
as much as we should, right? I just feel like we kind of ignore him every podcast. And here he hits 10,000. I think this is the longest I've talked about Devin Booker this year. Like, I'm serious, like putting sentences next to each other, like, in a paragraph or whatever, just constantly talking about him this long. But I mean, he had a great game. He ended the half, was it the half? Oh, I'm sorry, end of the first when the Suns went on 11-0 run, he had his 12th point. So you're like, okay, here we go. First quarter book. It was nice. And then the long three off the fast break, Eddie was talking about too, his 3-point shot. And I think Kevin Ray asked him, like, what's the difference between last year, this year with booking the three? And EJ did say the selection really, but I don't know if it's really that because I feel like he's still shooting the same kind of threes. They're just going in. I don't know like why they're like there's a fast break three he had where it
Mm-hmm.
went in. Usually he misses those. And then at the end of the quarter, he had 2 3. End of the third quarter, I believe he had 2 threes. And I was just like, wow, like they're just going in. There's nothing really different about his shot selection, I feel like this year.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we talked about this a little on the podcast, and you're 100% right in the fact that we don't talk enough about Devin Booker. And it's one of those things where even with CP3, like we're like, hey man, we really need to take the opportunity to talk about how special having somebody like CP3 is on this team. But we don't necessarily have that conversation about Devin Booker. And hearing how he's hit 10,000 points now, and this guy is just going to continue to pour it on. He's going to continue to uh, be the face of this franchise and continue to just grow as an offensive player is really something that we don't talk enough about. And I think that everything that he's done up to this point of his son's career is already put him, there's a reason why, for those of you who can see behind me, my whole mural that I've made it of the Phoenix Suns and all of their greats, there's a reason Devin Booker's right there. And that's because I'm going to stop the cam. Every time I stop the cam, life's better. But
Okay. Very
there's a
insecure
reason.
podcast.
Oh man, it's just I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm so sorry to all the fucking listeners. They're like, I'm just listening. Shut up and talk about the Suns. But there's a reason I put him on there. It's because he has already displayed at such a young age, as Josh77 says in the chat. Booker's only 25. It's crazy.
Oh
It's
my!
crazy how 10,000. He's crazy. He's the fifth youngest player to hit 10,000 points, and he's in our own backyard.
7th, yeah.
And again, it's like we don't talk about him enough. And on a night like tonight, a night in which the Phoenix Suns are without so many of their guns and so many of their players who provide points. DeAndre is your second leading scorer. Jay Crowder is another top 5 scorer. Alfred Payton is there. So with those guys out, you need somebody to step up, and it's Devin Booker with 38 points, and he wanted that 41. Did you see that last 3 he took? Oh, he wanted that one.
I might have missed the last 3.
He took a 3.
Every time the games are ending, I'm like getting set up. So no, I didn't see it. Sorry.
Well, he took a 3 and he wanted that 41. And then right after that, Oklahoma City got the rebound. He fouled so all the reserves could come in. That was kind of like the last shot for him. So, yeah,
How'd he get 40 for him, huh? He's always just shy. I know one game I was like, he scored 37, but he only had 30 that game, but he can't hit 40 this year. It's tough.
Yeah, I know. He hasn't hit it. It's not necessarily always needed. So on a night when it was needed, it would have been nice to see that 41 in the box score. But at the same time, like Suns win by 18. So there's only so much you can truly bitch about. But fantastic showing for Devin Booker again. And as you mentioned, coming out in that first quarter and just setting the tone is something that you really needed from him. And unfortunately, he was kind of the only guy who could hit jumpers. And for some reason, and I don't understand why, the Suns were allowing OKC to get to the rim rather than forcing jumpers that entire first half. It felt like a layup line for the Oklahoma City Thunder in that first half, to the point where 34 of the 51 first half points by the Oklahoma City Thunder occurred in the paint. That's 66% of their points. And that's why, in my personal and humble opinion, that's why DA is not as replaceable as some people think. Some people think, Bill Simmons is one of the ones. He's always like, well, you can always pay a center $5 million a year and you're good down low. But you know what? JaVale McGee's a pretty good defensive center. And even he was getting caught to the point where he was allowing a lot of those layups, a lot of them to Ty Jerome, a lot of them to Aaron Wiggins, who, might be a nomination for the Jack Taylor Award tonight because, I see A. Wiggins in the box score. I'm like, hold on. Is there a trade? Did Andrew
I
Wiggins,
thought the same thing. I thought the same thing too.
I'm like, I know that COVID's hitting the league pretty hard, but Andrew Wiggins is getting traded to the fucking Thunder. What did I
swapping teams just for a game?
Seriously, but it's just what it is. It's so many times, we don't give DA enough credit for the shot deterrence that he provides at the rim, because he does it with such consistency, in my opinion. And you can see it from his fellow players. Bridges, Chris Paul, Cam Johnson, Devin Booker, they were all cheating tonight. They were cheating, trying to jump those first steps from the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder would fake to the left, go to the right, and because DA wasn't back there to necessarily have their back, the layup line began. And yes, I see that. Let's see. McGee is also a good rim protector. He is, but he wasn't tonight because he had to stay home on his guy. He doesn't have the lateral quickness that DA can do and has to not only provide shot deterrence, but to stay grounded. Because JaVale McGee, I noticed a lot tonight, was getting caught up in the air, which, Tyler Jerome would just go to the rim, fake like he's going for a layup. McGee would go in the air, he'd spin and just lay it in every time.
Yeah, it was McGee, he had the 2 blocks, but it was towards the end of the game where he actually picked up the intensity a little bit, I thought. But when you're worried about getting in foul trouble too, I think that was the thing last game where he got in foul trouble, and he's been doing that kind of around when DA's been out, he's been getting in foul trouble. Cameron Johnson got the 3 early fouls in 7 minutes. So maybe that has something to do with it a little bit. But yeah, you're right. He can't really rotate like a DeAndre Ayton. And that's what makes him so special. It's like when Booker was out and Shamet came in to replace him. And Shamet's trying to get those mid-range shots off the dribble. And it looks just so funky and weird. And just he's clanking them off the rim. And you look at Book doing it. It's just so easy.
I got a whole
breezy.
thing on Shamet tonight, so we'll talk about
Oh,
him
do
in a
you?
minute.
Okay, yeah,
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
And then just to relate to what McGee's trying to do to pick up DeAndre Ayton's slack, it's really tough for him. And I really think that you have to rely on Cameron Johnson, who was still getting beat too. He gave up, I don't know if he gave up 2 and 1s, but he gave up 1 and 1. But to start the game, everyone was blown by him too. So
Yep.
there wasn't really help anywhere. And that's just something that you have to worry about when DA is out. But I like that. I don't know. I like that McGee does pick up the energy when it's needed. I think he kept it to himself to kind of like stay out of foul trouble. And he's like, okay, if I can stay out of foul trouble, then I can help this team in the end. I think he did on a few blocks towards the end of the game. And just he contested some shots because the young guys on that OKC team were kind of using the rim against him too, to where they would kind of draw him and do the reverse layup or use the rim against McGee, so he couldn't get the block. So they were just trying to figure out ways to get to the rim, and then the 3-point shot wasn't falling from them early either. I think they were 0 for 6 to start or 0 for 7. So it just they were kind of in a limbo there. Okay, seeing this for some reason attacking the rim, they're just like, oh, this is easy. Let's just keep doing it.
No one was
And
stopping them, so why not keep doing it?
Exactly. So I mean, good on them for doing that. It's just I think the Suns, they have to give something up. Something has to give for the Suns in these games when DeAndre Ayton's out, and that's just going to be the one thing till he comes back. So we just have to put up with it and figure out how to win these games otherwise.
Well, and again, a lot of it comes from playing minutes together, right? I mean, one of the reasons, and we saw this early in the season last year, in which DeAndre Ayton was kind of learning how he could best assist his guards and his forwards ahead of him on the court by knowing which way they're going to dish their defenders ultimately, right? I mean, Chris Paul, if he's got a right-handed offensive player on him, there's going to be moments where he knows that he has an opportunity to go for a steal, so he's going to go at the left hand. But if that occurs and he misses, DA, who's playing essentially the linebacker in the back, reading the plays that's coming, he knows where he can be while still covering his guy to avoid any kind of, bounce pass or lob and still create shot deterrence. And that comes just from sheer putting minutes together. And when you're getting these funky lineups, you're not going to get any of that consistency that you're used to. You're not. JaVale McGee isn't used to playing minutes with Chris Paul and Devin Booker and Mikal Bridges, right? He's used to playing those minutes with Cam Payne and Cam Johnson. So he's not necessarily instinctively knowing exactly where he needs to be from a defensive standpoint to maximize his effectiveness as a shot deterring player and a rim protector, both of things that he does well. It was just interesting to see how the Suns for the entire first half just didn't necessarily adjust to the fact that the Oklahoma City Thunder, as you mentioned, were 0 for 6 from deep to start the game, couldn't make any of their jump shots. So they became a one-trick pony, and the Suns allowed them to do so. And that's what happens when Monty Williams is out with COVID, and you got what's the name of the guy who was the something Young, because they said his name was KY. That was his Kevin Young, the guy who's coaching for the Suns, the assistant coach. KY is his nickname, which is a horrible nickname to have, by the way. I would never want anyone to call me KY.
No, I mean the first thing I thought of when he said that.
Yeah, with some anal lube, right? So I would hate to be known as an anal lube.
Oh, is that what it's used for? Okay, I didn't know that.
Kevin Young, KY. Thank you, Sonia, in the chat to verify that I did that. But again, I think that you look at how they adjusted. To your point, they saved up, and JaVale primarily. I think that was probably the one thing that KY was telling him was like, listen, don't get into foul trouble early. We're going to need you late. And it was Cameron Johnson, unfortunately, who was getting into foul trouble. Ultimately, at the end of this game, he played 23 minutes, 12 points on 2 of 5 from deep, 5 for 10 from the field, 6 rebounds, 1 assist. But I kind of felt like I was robbed. I think that with these games with Jay Crowder out, the one thing that gets me really excited is seeing Cameron Johnson because I see him with the first team unit, albeit without DeAndre Ayton, and I just feel like because of the foul trouble that occurred in that first half, we didn't get to see a full on fantastic Cameron Johnson performance, and for that I feel robbed, Matthew. I feel robbed inside.
You definitely should, but he had the 3 go down later in the game, and Eddie even brought up that the 1-3 he had that just rolled around the rim, like it's soft touch. It's pretty insane that a guy has that nice to touch from 3. But every moment he has on the court where he does something different, kind of not unusual, but it's just something that really catches your eye. Maybe it's a new kind of shot. He's just hitting it from a different angle, or he's just shooting it from a different spot on the floor. It's always just something that's like, oh, right, here we go. Because he has so much. What's so funny? Are you
I'm
just
just
laughing
thinking
at me?
I'm
I
just
don't know
saying
if you
he's hitting
what
it
you're
from a
doing
different
behind the
angle.
camera.
He's hitting it from a different angle, and that's where KY comes in.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Carry
No,
on.
it's fine. I didn't even I didn't even think of it that way. Usually I catch myself on those things. But yeah, I don't know. I was just saying that everything he does on the court, and even like my friend who went to the game tonight, I'm sure he'll tell me tomorrow at work, like, hey, like him up close in person, because I think he had row 8 tonight for the game.
Oh, damn. Nice.
And like I sat like row 15 when I went to go see him this year against I forget who they were playing, the Hawks. And he
Hawks.
just stands out. And I bet you that's the first name that he's going to talk about tomorrow is Cameron Johnson, because he does stand out. He's a big mother effer, dude.
Yeah.
And he's doing all these things that like guards can do. And it's just he's developing so fast now. I feel like this season more than I think people even thought.
Yeah, and again, you don't necessarily realize how big he is relative to his size, and then you couple that with the athleticism and the ease of his shot, and I mean, he is just a very exciting player to watch, and that's why I felt robbed tonight. I was really looking forward to Cam Johnson minutes and seeing how he would play. But again, somebody had to get those fouls essentially, and I think
I
that
guess so, yeah.
I guess it was him. So let's see, who did I want to talk? Oh, I want to talk about our boy right here. Where is it? God, I got so many drops. Oh, the Warden. Mikal Bridges ends the night 2 for 6 from the field with 5 points. Now, he had 7 rebounds, he had 2 assists, he had a steal. But as some of the Jamsters are noticing in the chat, it's like, why are we not seeing more of Cameron Johnson? Freddie Me Ramon via Facebook says, need to run more sets for Bridges. $90 million player needs to step up and score when others are out. Cam Johnson not scared, so Cam's going at it when in the minutes he's provided, and you can't tell me that this is a night where Mikal Bridges is locked in on the defensive end. I was kind of disappointed with Mikal Bridges tonight. I didn't see his aggression offensively. I don't think, and this is something we've definitely talked about before on the podcast, but
Yeah.
on these are the opportunities for him to really kind of step up and ultimately earn that contract, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that because he got paid, he's going to be lax, because that's not Mikal Bridges. We know from just watching him that basically he's going to try every night, give it his all, and he takes a lot of pride into his defense, and offensively he was developing into something, and it just kind of went away. So towards the end of the game, Emmanuel Terry was in, and he was trying to put
Yes.
he was by the rim trying to put it in. I couldn't see the hair because he has like the longer dreads. So
Yes.
for some reason, the way he was moving, I thought that was Mikal down there. And I'm like, come on, Mikal, get the ball in the hoop. And I'm like, oh my God, that's not Mikal. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is it getting to this point where offensively, where is he? He's completely gone. And I know the confidence from Cameron Johnson, that's fine, but Mikal had that. So I'm just thinking there's something else going on where behind the scenes, something, I don't know, there might be a report where something else is broken on him, because when he gets up from the floor, you ever notice when Mikal falls on the floor and he tries to get up, it takes the dude forever because he is so long. But it takes him a while whenever he gets knocked down. So I don't know if something's bothering him in his knees or something, because something is just off with him. I swear, like, the beginning of the year, the way he played, how everyone wants his jersey. There's always times where he's the best son. He's the favorite son. Everyone wants his jersey. Like, where does that go? What happens? And we're fine. We're going to win games without him playing great
Of
offensively.
course.
That's fine.
We did tonight by 18.
I mean, we win a lot of games without him playing great or even good from offense on the offensive side. So I'm not saying that it has to be every night, but there's just something going on, man, because he's missing a step. He doesn't have the confidence he wants on offensive end. The threes are fine. I don't care what percentage he has from three. I'm just going to say this. I don't like him shooting the three that much. I just don't. Every time he shoots it, deep down inside, I hate it. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Wow.
I hate it so much. I don't care what percentage he shoots. I like him doing other things on the court offensively, and then you can shoot the three after, that's fine. But I just think he helps the offensive so much whenever he can actually get to the rim, have the floater. I mean, he did a little bit tonight, and he missed a few of them. but I just need more of that from him. I like that Mikal more than the 3-point Mikal. And I know 3 points is more, but I just like the other things
I
he
hear
does
you.
better.
And he's shooting 39.1% entering this game, so I guess it's not as bad as it might feel like it's at time. Blaze Megatron, one of our elite jamsters in the chat. Again, if you want to become an elite jamster, simply click the join button on YouTube or follow the link in the description. But he said his back might be a bit injured, and it takes forever to get up when you have a bad back. And what you're mentioning from a body language standpoint, like that could be true. When you say he's a little bit slow getting up, look a little lackadaisical in doing so, like that's what happens when you have a bad back. The big warthog, great name, says he hasn't been
really
right
good.
since the pinky dislocation, and that's kind of
Yeah.
correct too. So I mean, it's really you're trying to figure out exactly what what is preventing Mikal Bridges from maximizing his offensive potential, because it's
Yeah.
definitely there. We see it, and nights like tonight, again, we win by 18, so it's not the end of the world. But you would like to see a little bit more from Mikal on the offensive end. He wasn't a lockdown defender, in my personal opinion, as we mentioned. He was being beat consistently as the Oklahoma City Thunders were running layup lines at the rim. So kind of what's going on, Mikal? Are you just a little tired right now? You're a little banged up, which is okay. I just
We'll never know.
when you're paying a guy $90 million a year, and I look at it like this too. Just because you're paying a guy $90 million a year doesn't mean he needs to be a consistent offensive threat. We need him to be a fantastic defensive threat. As Benjamin Schindel says in the chat, he still leads the Suns in WAR, which is a advanced metric, but wins above replacement. He is somebody who is consistently playing well on the defensive end, to the point where he's into the not only defensive all team or first, or the all defensive team first team consideration, he's defensive player of the year consideration. So I'm not taking anything away from him. It's just in games like this, I would like to see a little bit more from him. Another guy who I'd like to see just a little bit more from, not just in this game, is fucking any game.
All I can say is, Sham, wow.
Piece of shit. He's bugging me, man.
Before with Mikal, my face got a little red. I kind of got a little bit too into it. Church boy Matthew Lissy over here got a little too into it. I just had to let it go about the 3. But now it's your turn with Shamet, because I can feel your blood boil from over here.
Freddie Ramon from Facebook says Sam shit.
Oh, see, I don't like the name calling. I can't.
Yeah, I know you don't. You take everything so personal with you. It's called sports, and we're allowed to talk some shit about it. That's why we have a podcast. Okay, so I'm frustrated with, as Coach JJM says, Landry Sham-less. It's just a lack of consistency that we've seen from him throughout the season, but most notably during this time frame when he really has an opportunity to shine. Now, granted, okay, he had those 7 games earlier in the season when Devin Booker was out and he was getting all the starts, right? And if you look at how he performed in those games compared to when he's coming off the bench, he was doing all right. He was doing well enough, in my personal opinion. Okay, if you look at his starting splits, I can't even pull him up right now. Let's see. I had him, and then my computer clearly. Okay, so 10.4 points per game in those starts. As a reserve, he's only averaging 6.9. 41% from 3 when he was a starter. So the rhythm helped him. 35.4% as a reserve in the 25 games leading into this game as a reserve. And then tonight, once again, Landry Shamet, 3 for 10, 1 for 7 from 3-point land, 7 total points. And I'm starting to hit that point where we're 34 games into the season, Matthew. It's not like this is a small sample size of Landry Shamet, through the first 10, even 20 games, being like, you know what? At some point, he's going to pick it up. And don't get me wrong, maybe he will pick it up at some point. But I'm starting to see this consistent short arming, fast release, not set release. He leans into shots, as we've talked about. So he doesn't, the reason why Devin Booker looks so great chucking threes this year is he's set every time. Cameron Johnson, it's like this perfect shooting motion. And I always feel like Landry Shamet's like jumping towards the basket trying to push it in like it's a floater, but he's doing it from 30 feet. And I'm getting to that point where it's like, okay, I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated with the contract. This guy got paid a ton of money before he ever put on a Suns uniform. and I've stated it before, and I'll stand by it. He's somebody who that contract is a great asset because it's a highly tradable contract that you can use in an effort to gain somebody bigger. So if you take a Jalen Smith plus a Landry Shamet type of contract, you
Yeah.
can get a $16 million a year player. That's much more of an upgrade. But man, I'm not seeing his consistency, and it's frustrating the living dog shit out of me.
I'm totally with you, and we're so deep into the season now where you want to see the consistency you're talking about, and you bring up like the percentage, like you shot 41% starting, whatever 37%, whatever, from the bench. But I feel like everyone now is shooting at least that from three in the NBA. I know before when we first started the podcast, I used to talk about you shoot 40% or more from three. That's a good percentage. But now I just feel like from the games we're just watching, because we watch every game, obviously, and we just see the inconsistency. And when you bring up like the 41% from three when he started, I'm like, I would have never guessed that. I would have guessed like 30% or something, because everything else that like he puts out there on the floor, it's not negative, but it's something where he's just not sure of himself. And I wanted to ask you too, like, do you think I don't know who would replace his minutes, but do you think in the back of his mind, he's thinking like, they paid me, I have to earn these minutes. Am I going to lose these minutes now because of the way I'm playing? And
No,
I mean,
I don't think.
you can't
No,
though, right?
because Monty is one of those guys who says, "Hey, you're a shooter. You need to shoot. Keep shooting." So
Yeah.
he's given the green light at all times, and I think it's almost to the point where it's just like maybe this just is who he is. He's a guy who's consistently inconsistent, and that's why he's consistently throughout his short career. He's only been in the league for 4 years, but he's bounced around a bunch because on paper, at the end of the day, as you mentioned, you look at his statistics and you're like, okay, Landry Shamet's not horrible. Looking at this year, what's he shooting from deep? Let's see here, 40, or I'm sorry, 36.7%. It's not horrible, right? But as you mentioned, like if you want to be an effective 3-point shooter and your whole game, your whole bag of tricks is shooting threes, like you got to be a 42% knockdown shooter. He's shooting 37%. That's what his identity is supposed to be. That's what we were sold on what he was going to be, was the guy who's going to come in off the bench, supply consistent offense, and knock down threes like Cam Johnson has done. I mean, he's not coming close to reaching that potential. So overall, he's averaging 7.7 points a game, man. And we're paying this guy, what, $10 million
Yeah.
a year?
No, I know. And there's something where I want to see come out of him. It's like an FU. Like he has to come out and just
Yes.
start owning it. But I don't know if I want that either, because I think that's too much. But like the missed dunk tonight where I think he got fouled on it, but he was wide
Yes.
open to the lane. How do you not flush that? And he had a breakaway dunk, I think 2 games in a row already off of a steal, which is fine. That's great. But you have to finish that dunk. You have to have the FU in you. You can't have that
Yes.
look. He just has that look where he's walking back defensively, or if he misses a shot, he's running back. But he just has that look where it's just like, shit, like, why did I miss that? What is like, he's just in his head. He's like Cameron Payne. The good game from him tonight. But Cameron Payne just like in his head, like these two guys, they have to get out of their head. They have to relax. They just have to go out there and catch and shoot, do the things that you're good at. And eventually it'll come through. Like you said, Monty's just, he's going to get his minutes. There's no one else to replace him. Just keep shooting. That's, beautiful. Oh my God. Is that an angel? What is that? Oh, John just came back on the screen. Oh,
slowly, my reception
stop me mid-sentence.
Yeah, there it goes. There goes my
But
reception.
yeah, anyways.
I'm
But yeah,
pixelated again.
he needs to figure it out, because I think it's too deep into the season to really be like, oh, he'll catch on. We're already this far into the season. He needs to figure something out, man.
Yeah, our buddy Greg Esposito from the PHNX podcast. Great content over there as well. He's got a great point. Sham needs a little campaign edge. And campaign needs to settle down a little bit because campaign's got too much
share
edge.
some of that.
Yeah, share
too much.
some of that.
I was going to bring that up tonight too. Yeah.
That combo of champagne needs to be a little bit more level. It's peaked all wrong. It's like somebody who's tuning a guitar and they can't get everything peaked in correctly, and the trebles too much, and there's a little too much bass going on with the band. It's like Paul and John sitting around, get back to where you once belonged. But no, it's
you and your brother.
It's a
I'm just joking.
great point.
Yeah,
I do.
Get back.
Paul.
Okay.
Get back to where you once belonged. There is one guy who I thought played again pretty fantastic tonight.
Stix report.
Our buddy Jalen Smith ended the evening with how many rebounds did he end up with? He was fucking killing it.
14, 5 offensive.
5 offensive, 11 points, 4 for 7 from the field, only 0 for 1 from deep, Matthew, which I like to see. I really enjoy, again, Bridges is somebody we just talked about. Obviously, he is your defensive stalwart. He's somebody who is going to be on the all defensive team for the year. And we're saying, hey, this is an opportunity to really excel your offensive game, right? Because the minutes are there. Stix is somebody who it's like, hey, this is your opportunity to just get meaningful minutes. And in 2 consecutive games now, he has really showcased an affinity for crashing the boards, for knowing his role within the confines of the offense and executing accordingly. And I really, really have enjoyed watching him play. I think that, Eddie Johnson nailed it on the broadcast. He's like, listen, Sticks doesn't need to be shooting the ball. He needs to be your mop-up man. Devin Booker needs to be like, hey, go down there, and every time that I miss, you mop it up. And I think that he's
Yeah.
been doing a good job of that.
He's been doing really, really good. Like, I'm very, very impressed by Stix. Yeah, it was funny that time in the game where it's like, no, yeah, just go get the rebound, man, because that's what he's good at. And yeah, 0 for 1 from 3. I knew you'd be happy about that. I still like him shooting the 3. It's fine.
I'm okay
But
with it, but not shooting
yeah,
like 7 or 8. He's like a shoot 3 a game kind of
yeah,
guy, just
yeah,
to
3
kind of draw.
max. I'm the same.
Yeah,
I'm on the
yeah.
same
Draw the defense
level,
away
man.
from the interior.
Yeah,
We'll
and
edit that out.
okay, what was that? Edit what out?
I'm just kidding.
What
We can't
happened?
edit anything out.
Okay, so yeah. So I just feel like in the beginning of the game too, Stix has even last game, he was finding ways to like get behind the defense in a way for like cutting, getting to the rim, and the Suns like kind of miss him. I'm like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of kind of like DA a little bit in the
Yes.
beginning, like last year, where it's like DA would be missed so many times when he would slip behind the defense and just be open underneath the basket. And Stix does do that. So I think the Suns need to figure out a way, especially when DA's out, to hit him on those little rolls because he's open a few times to the basket and see how he handles that. I know it's probably things that they try to practice with him, but in game situations, and maybe they're not used to it. Maybe they're just used to him standing over there by 3 or just getting in a big group of guys down there underneath the basket. But there's different times in the game where he is open, but he's been great. Even his blocks, like he has the
You see that
FU in
block
him.
that he
That's the
had
FU. That's what Shamet needs.
yeah, seriously. Did you
Was
see the
that Ty
block he had on
Jerome?
Ty Jerome where he blocked it with his
Mhm.
elbow? He got up so high. That
Yeah,
was
he got.
fantastic.
I think he jumped over Chris Paul for that one, didn't he?
I
Like
think so. He
yeah,
jumped
he
like
was way
through
up.
people.
That's
I
what
just
that's what you need, man. That
and I
aggressiveness from him.
absolutely yes, I love the aggressiveness. I love him not shooting a ton of threes. I love him grabbing those rebounds. And again, I like just the statistical point of view on this, right? Because even from a statistical point of view, he's upping his value as a potential trade asset. Because the casual fan now, the guys who don't watch
Uh-oh.
the Phoenix Suns, if they are taking a look at trade assets and it's rumored that the Phoenix Suns are trading Jalen Smith to the San Antonio Spurs for Thad Young, which, as I said on the last podcast, I'm officially against that. I don't want Thad Young anymore. I think that it's easier to sell when you just casually look at the statistics. You're like, yeah, well, look, he's putting up
Yeah.
like 11 and 15 or 11, 14, whatever it is. So it's, yes, as Fabio says, Stix stonks are rising up he's taking these opportunities and he's putting some good things on film that are going to allow the Suns to A, trade him, or B, develop him into the proper asset. Maybe he could eventually be somebody who consistently contributes to this team. So another positive game from Jalen Smith. It's nice to see. Is he where we want him to be? Probably not, but still, is the fact that he's at
Yeah.
least putting those good efforts on film is nothing but beneficial for both him and the Phoenix Suns, right?
Yeah, just really quick too.
Go for it.
If he's playing this way every game, when DA is out, if he's putting up these numbers, just aggressiveness and a good attitude out there, like, is this something where it reaches a level of it goes from Thad Young to like a guy like, I'm not saying I want Sabonis, even though I kind of do, like a Sabonis, like you could throw into one of those kind of trades. You think that it rises up that much?
I mean,
An all-star type player.
potentially.
I'm not saying Stix is a all-star, but these teams that
No,
are trying
but
to.
he could be a piece of the puzzle that brings an all-star here is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Which I agree.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When he puts forth performances like this and again, statistical performance like this, it ups his value across the board. And if we were to go for a Domantas Sabonis, which I know that you're a little bit more higher on I am, I'm just very
yeah.
anti Again, I think Domantas Sabonis 3 years ago for the Suns makes sense. I don't think it makes sense with this current team and this current roster. The chemistry is too tight with this team that bringing someone in like Sabonis could potentially upheave that, and we could see a lot of adjustment time that could cost the Suns quite a few games and move them around in the standings. But to your point, maybe around the trade deadline, maybe going into the offseason when we're looking at the 2022-23 Phoenix Suns, yes, he becomes somebody who potentially could be a trade asset for that bigger puzzle piece, if you will. He could be, one of 3 puzzle pieces that brings in one big puzzle piece.
Yeah, I agree.
Jam star of the game.
I thought you were done, Matt. I thought you were done.
No, I thought I was done too. I was gonna say, good game, Stix. Now we want to trade you. So that's
there.
How
No, that's right. That's exactly right. That's all I've been waiting for all season.
Sabonis would be Darius.
That's get some of these good games so we can trade his ass. I mean, that's the thing. Sonia Lovato asked, when's the deadline for trades? Oh,
tomorrow.
Mid-February.
I'm just kidding. It's mid-February.
Yeah. So, all right, Jamsters, let us know in the chat who your Jam star of the game. And this is a reminder: while you're here, hit the thumbs up button. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review. Give us a 5-star Apple review, and give us 5 stars on Spotify as well. So, Matthew, who are you going to give? I think it's pretty easy for us.
Yeah.
It's Devin Booker tonight, right? Big Dick Book.
Oh, yeah.
Showed up, showed out, was swinging that thing all over the court tonight. 38 points for the big guy. Is there anything else we need to say about him?
No, we should only see Book in the chat, and honestly, a bunch of eggplants. That's about it. Just those 2 things. Nothing else necessary. Maybe some Dario Saric because someone brought him up already. So,
well, you got one that says Emmanuel Terry from Fabio.
Mikal Bridges.
And
I thought that was Mikal.
Says Emmanuel Terry, 1 minute, 4 rebounds. Dude was having fun on the bench. The only reason he had 4 rebounds because he missed 4 shots.
He missed. He just kept throwing it at the rim, like get in there.
It up to himself. But yeah, kind of across the board from the Jamsters, it is Booker, BDB, Big Dick Book from Freddie, me, Ramon. Just across the board. It's definitely a fantastic evening for Devin Booker. And again, the fact that he has really developed that 3-point shot it makes him such an interesting player moving forward. Like, he is goddamn unguardable, because that's the one thing he was missing in his bag of tricks was just a consistent 3-point shot. And entering this evening, he was shooting 42.2%, and he went 50% on 6 of 12. So that's just going to bump up even more. I mean, that's just ridiculous what he's doing this season.
This is like we talked about a few losses where we just need someone to step up and win it. Like, Book just won this game for us. This is his game tonight. And Kevin Young, there you go. KY Jelly.
Yeah, KY Jelly.
Yeah. Give him the ball to Book. That's all you have to
do. Yeah, seriously, it's really hard to drop those plays, if you will. So let's see. Up next for the Phoenix Suns, we are playing on New Year's Eve. I believe. What time is that game? Is it 1 o'clock?
I think it's 1 or 2.
Double check on that. That sucks because that's right in the middle of the college football playoff games.
Is it? Does it start that early?
Yeah, the first one I think is at 1,
and
then the second one's the Georgia Michigan game is like it's 4 or 5 or 6 or something.
Okay,
let's see. Looking it up.
I don't watch college football anyways.
So. I'll watch that for sure. It says 11 a.m. Is that right?
11 a.m.
Oh,
you know what? Yeah.
Sweet.
Perfect.
So
there you go.
The Suns will be at Boston at the TD Garden, a place I visited a little bit earlier this season.
Yeah.
What are you looking for in this game? Do you think? Because again, I'm not 100% about or have the knowledge on these protocols because I feel like they're changing all the time now relative to COVID and Omicron. Like, will we? I don't think we'll have. Nobody will be back, right?
I don't know. I'm trying to look at the last box score from Boston. I know they lost the last 2 games, or 3 games. I'm like going back.
Did you see the Lakers lost tonight again?
Did they lose again?
Yeah, John Morant had a huge fourth quarter and came back and beat them.
Hell yeah, there you go,
I
Ja.
love it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's nice because you lose that team and then Ja does it again the next night to the Lakers, so it makes up for it a little bit, right?
Yeah,
I don't know who's out, man.
Well, the Boston Celtics, 16-18, 9th in the Eastern Conference. This is what I'm reading off of Basketball Reference right now. We got Bruno Fernando out with health safety protocols. Enes Freedom out with health and safety protocols. Justin Jackson, CJ Miles, Aaron Nesmith, Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, who was out a couple days ago. Sam Hauser. I mean, they're the same thing. It's like every team in the NBA right now, man. It's just a big,
My work too. Yeah, my work. Everyone. Well, there's one lady that had it, so everyone's gonna get it now. Anyways, I just that's insane. Like, how do you even go into this game even knowing what to expect? You know what I mean?
You don't. I can't predict it. I can't sit here and give you any, good analysis on it because I don't know what to expect. Yeah, I don't know what to expect. So, I guess on that note, we'll just bring up a different segment.
Thoughts. Brains?
There's two things I want to bring up. Both not great topics, but things to talk about. The first one, Ricky Rubio. I don't know if you saw, but he tore his ACL last night. Fucking sucks, man. It's just, obviously we were Rubio fans before he even came to Phoenix, and once we came here, you and I we had a very awkward jumping up in the air high five where we half missed it, and it was just like, sweet, we finally have a point guard. And everything that's happened to the Phoenix Suns over these past two seasons directly is a cause of Ricky Rubio and what he did, the class in which he did it, and then when he got traded, the class in which he was traded. And to see him go down for the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team who everybody all of a sudden is like, oh, this team's good. And I think you and I were at the beginning of the season like, dude, this team's going to be good. It sucks to see that, man.
It does. Between like the NBA, every NBA team, when there's a revolution, even in the world, like anything that's going on politically in sports, Ricky Rubio's behind it. He's always there for, you know what I mean? If there's anybody turning around a franchise or anything.
He started the Cuban uprising in like 1946.
Yeah, something. Yeah, he was there for that too. So, I mean, he's just a positive influence on these young guys, and it sucks because the ACL thing is just. It just sucks because it eventually like happens to everybody, right?
Seems
playing
like
sports. It happens at the most random times, and it's just I don't know, they don't think about it, but when it happens, like, God, fuck, like why now? Especially this year, the way he's playing with that team, like it's just a bummer. I mean, Rubio is our favorite. Do we need to play the drop or did you get rid of it?
No, the drop is always there, and it's probably the last time we'll play it this season, so this one's for you, Ricky.
¿Limpieza profunda e higiene? Confía en HS para un pelo 100% libre de caspa. Clínicamente probado. HS, champú número 1 en España.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go, Ricky. And then the other one I want to talk about is John Madden passing. I think that's really sad to hear that. Like 2 days after that Fox special, the All Madden special that they ran, I saw a little bit of it while I was working the other day. When's the first time you ever remember, like, do you remember John Madden calling football games, him and Pat Summerall?
Yeah, and honestly, it's weird. It's like, it's my favorite. I like Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. I do, just because, even though sometimes it's just like the lamest announce, like play by play. I don't mind that though.
For football. In baseball, he's annoying as shit to me because
you mentioned that
baseball
before,
announcers are. It's a really hard thing to announce, so
that's difficult. So slow. What are you talking about? I mean, A-Rod's tried to do it for 3 years.
A-Rod's horrible.
Sucks. He is just terrible. He's worse than me me doing the podcast. Like he is just absolutely dog shit. But no, John Madden, I remember. I mean, it's what gets you into football is that guy. I mean, of course, the video game itself is just revolutionary. Like honestly, I think that I haven't played it in like 5 or 6 years, but that's one of the games I played all the time. But I mean, he didn't really have any input on it. But
no, he did initially. That's
when
what made it great. Is everybody was kind of coming up with video games, if you will, non-realistic video games, and his whole thing was like, listen, I want it to be 11 on 11. Here's some old playbooks that I used to have. You can use these for the game. Because I know that this is going to help people understand football better. And I know for me personally, somebody who I didn't play football. Okay, I was a basketball and a baseball player, so I really wasn't into football. I loved watching it, but I was just, I'll be honest, I was too afraid of getting hit, man. Like I didn't want anybody fucking diving at me.
I don't like people touching me.
Yeah, it's like, dude, like that's why you love golf so much. It's just every time you hit you make a putt, I give you a slap on the ass and you give me the look like it's like you're like, where's the Kevin Young?
But someone hugged me at work the other day. It was
my God.
I don't want that.
I hug everybody at work. I'm a hugger, big time. So I stopped by my old job today to say hi and Merry Christmas to some of my old people. And I saw some guests that I know because I worked there for 14 years, and I saw them hugging everybody. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like the anti-Lissy. You guys just don't like to be touched ever.
I'll hug when I go visit like old friends at work. I would hug them. Yeah, that's different. Not like a hug every day. You know, these people hug each other every day. It's like,
Yeah,
no,
no, that's true. That's
that's
true.
gross.
Yeah, that's gross and weird. But do you have a favorite Madden game that you ever played?
The one with Mike Vick on the cover. Okay, so this
Yes.
is I liked Madden up until NFL 2K came out with 2K5 with Terrell Owens on the front cover. That
Mm,
was a way better game than any Madden game I've ever played. So after that, I've always wanted to play 2K, and then Madden kind of just I was like, this game's just the same thing every year. So the Michael
yeah,
Vick one was the best one. I don't remember what year that was,
it
but
was 04 if I remember correctly. I
it
was
was probably
stationed
the year
in
before that.
Korea when that came out.
Okay,
So
yeah, no, it
I'll
was that one for
never forget
sure.
that game. Yeah, that game was. I mean, and if you had Mike Vick, so what we used to do in the Army is everybody would draw we'd get 32 guys, and we'd all draw a name out of a hat, or 30 guys draw a name out of a hat, and that was the team you had to play. And we do these huge tournaments, and that was the game that you
Mhm.
used to play. So that was the one I knew the best. Like I knew every little trick play. And obviously, whoever got the Atlanta Falcons, like you had a one up on anybody because you had Michael Vick. But I'm with you. NFL 2K, the ones that first came out before that, actually, the ones with Randy Moss on the beginning or the first ones with Randy Moss on them. Those were fucking badass. But then I started to, those kind of faded away. I played Madden. The only reason I've stopped playing as of lately is to your point, like it's the same game recycled over and over again from a playbook standpoint, from a graphic standpoint. I'm like, okay, like if I just want to upgrade the rosters, why am I buying the new Madden? So,
Yeah, exactly.
and I do too much podcasting to do any video game playing. So,
No time
but
for it anymore, right? Sucks.
no. But as Freddie says, RIP Madden, friendships, brothers, and TV screens were changed forever thanks to Madden. There's no truer statement. My youngest brother, to this day, he'll still tell you the one time he beat me at Madden. It was a huge deal for him. If you could ever beat your older brother at a video game, you remember that time. And I remember it too. And I didn't quit on him. I played the whole way through because I knew it meant a
Did
lot to
you?
him.
You didn't just like pull out his controller or turn the game off?
No, because I knew
Oh,
it was
just
going to
really,
mean a lot to him.
really. Coach AJ, yeah,
WWE No
WWE No
Mercy.
Mercy. That game was
Yeah, those
amazing. For
games were
N64.
those were fun.
Yeah, okay. I just had to throw that out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, uh, well, I guess on that note again, RIP Madden and RIP Ricky Rubio's ACL and RIP my fucking internet connection. We made it through it.
Oh yeah, I forgot you have.
I'm gonna be talking to the missus tomorrow. Like, dude, we got to upgrade this now, and I'm just gonna show her the beginning of the pod. Be like, this is what happens.
Yeah. It's
but on
okay.
that
I
note,
just look at myself anyways. So.
I know you do, and I just look at you too, so it works out. And I just see Mikal Bridges grinning behind you. So on that note, Jamsters, we appreciate you taking the time post an 18-point victory for the Phoenix Suns over the Oklahoma City Thunder and joining the Suns Jam Session podcast to talk about it. His name's Matthew. You can follow him.
I'm Matthew Lissy.
And my name is John. You can follow me at Darth Boyd, and you can follow the show at Suns Jam on Twitter. Until New Year's Eve, our last podcast of 2021. Everybody have a fantastic evening.
Go home, love your family.
Matthew, you almost missed that one. I was almost about to tell you to.
Terrible. Take a lap.
I never know when you're done talking, so just hold on tight.
Hold on for the ride. All right, take care, everybody.